if it's something that your child really wants and it's something that they want to try, don't stop them, because if you stop them, they would either distance themselves more from you, or they would regret it in the future and blame you for it. So
welcome to the Parents We Want You to Know podcast. Each interview, we cover hard-hitting topics on what it's like to be a teenager in today's day and age. Let's get on with the episode.
Why, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am currently 4 hours into editing this episode. This was a long haul. And I've been really trying to push the quality on these podcasts every single episode. I try to improve just a couple little points here and there, and really by episode 10, episode 100, if we get that far, I really do hope that the quality will have increased significantly. This episode, we're going to be talking about biggest fears of teenagers, and we have a different guest for this topic where we talk about our fears, teenagers' average fears, in interview 1 and 2. In interview 3, we have someone who's gone through the teenager process and then is now reflecting back on how these fears has shaped their life. Before we start this episode, I highly recommend that you share this with a friend before you listen so that you can share it and also listen to it at the same time as them. So really all you need to do is click the 3-dot button to share it on any social media, and then you can listen with your friends as well. This topic doesn't cut as deep as loneliness, but still it is a relevant and very, very fun topic to talk about. I think about a lot of these fears every single day, and being able to speak all of these through a long-form interview was really helpful for me. Just again, before we begin, I hope that you share this podcast with a friend, listen to it with them, and I hope that you enjoy this episode. In this conversation, we are going to be talking about some of the most common fears in teenagers in today's day and age. Now, this conversation actually does take a little bit of time to actually warm up. It's around 10 minutes before we get to the meat of the conversation, but regardless, still a very good interview. I want to apologize in advance because we were filming and recording in a library, and within these libraries the walls were quite thin, so you could actually hear some background noises within around the middle of the interview and a few parts throughout the interview as well. So taking all those things in mind, I hope that you enjoy this interview. All right, I think we should just get started with this. As a teenager, what are some of your biggest fears?
I think one of my biggest fears would be fear of failure, and maybe a little bit of upsetting someone constantly, or just losing everyone that I care about.
Damn, that one was tough.
Sorry.
Could you explain a little more on that last one?
I think I've lost a lot of people who I care about ever since I was younger, because you lose friendships along the way. You lose people you think would be there for you all the time. And a lot of that has happened. And you kind of just have to learn to live with it.
Yeah, how do you deal it with when someone you care about just suddenly gets up and leaves?
You kind of don't.
It just happens?
It just happens, and then you have to recover from it more than anything. Sometimes you can't control what the other person is doing, so when they up and leave like that out of nowhere, you just have to move on even though you don't want to.
And when you have these fears and, as you said, failures, upsetting people, and when people leave in your life, how do you react? Is it like an anxious kind of feeling, or how is it that your body reacts during these times?
The thing for me is, I don't know if this is normal.
Okay, go ahead.
But I kind of just shut down. It's bad, yeah, but I do.
What kind of shut down?
It's
what do you mean?
You stop thinking, kind of thing. You just stop caring for a set period of time, until you can learn to live with it, and then you start caring slowly again.
How does that apply to your life and fear of failure?
In relation to, just in general?
In general, yeah.
In general. Because there's so many things that as teenagers now we have to kind of do, and there's a lot of expectations that are put on us to get through school and like get the best marks, volunteer, do things that are different and unique. With all those things that we have to do, we feel like we have to succeed at every single thing,
Yeah.
instead of just like focus on one specific thing that we like. We just have to be successful in everything. So once something starts going downhill, even though it may not matter in the future, we feel like it should.
I know I've talked to you about this before. When, for me, my parents don't set these super high
No,
expectations.
mine don't either.
Oh,
Mine
yeah.
don't either, yeah.
So, yeah, my parents set these, like, on a scale of 0 to 100, it's probably like a 60. I don't know in terms of what, but, like, let's just say a 60.
Yeah.
And for me, because they have that expectations, I ultimately want to be able to top their expectations.
No, I'm the same.
Yeah,
I'm
and then
the
I'm
exact
like,
same.
okay, they want me to get an 80 on this quiz or something, and I'm like, I'm gonna get perfect.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. Do you think it's because that, like, you said it happens for you as well?
Yeah.
Is it like the exact same?
Yeah.
Where you're like, I want to be able to top these expectations
Yeah.
as well. Huh. Okay.
It's like when someone expects nothing from you, you want to just, for some reason, I don't know if it's like human nature, but
Yeah.
you want to show them that you can do more than what they expect from you.
Okay. All right. So I have a list here of big fears of teenagers. I did a quick Google search and I found these top 6. You've talked to me about one of them already for being different, but we'll talk about that after. So just give me your opinion on, I'm just going to read them out and you give me your opinion on one that sticks out to you. So these are the biggest fears of teenagers in today's day and age. First is rejection. Second is loneliness. Third is being different. Fourth is fear of the future. Fifth is failure and expectations, we've talked about. And number 6 is commitment and intimacy. All right, so I think for all of these interviews, I just want to be able to get a small, or I think for one of the interviews, I'll go super deep into one topic, but then I think for the other 2 interviews, I'll go just talk about all 6, or at least a general scope of some of them. So we've covered fear of future and fear of expectations and failure. I have the list here again. Are there any topics that you'd like to go to next? No, you gotta pick it.
No, you pick. You pick, come on.
All right, loneliness we've talked about in episode 1. Okay, being different. You talked to me about, before this episode, you're like, that does not make any sense. Being different is not a fear. Or in your opinion, being different is not a fear in today's society. Why is that?
I think most teenagers want to be different. They
Yeah.
want to not be like everyone else. Because for university applications, if you're going to a competitive program,
Yeah.
you want to stand out. You don't want to be like everyone else. So they wouldn't fear being different. They want that.
You see, I never thought about it in that sense for, like, specifically university applications.
And like as a teenager, that dominates our lives from like 14 to 18.
What about those people that want to... Because I know there are a lot of people who still are interested in, like, taking up a 9 to 5.
Like
in
right
that
after
sense. Yeah.
right
Is
after
it-
high school.
Or, like, after university. But then, like, they all want to be able to take the same route. It's like, whatever gives me a stable...
Oh,
enough.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's how you're looking at it.
I don't know. It's 2 different points. I didn't think of yours at first, actually. What about conformity? There's so many people in high school, I know for sure, that, like, they want to be able to fit in. So I think in this context, it was trying to fit in versus, like, I know what
okay.
you're talking about, like, standing out in a good sense, like, to universities and all. But then what about, like, in your friend groups? You don't want to be that, like, weird kid? I don't know.
I don't mind it, actually. I guess I'm not.
Okay, I don't mind it either because, like, I feel that there's benefit.
So,
No,
I
but for,
mean-
like, I don't think that's the norm. I don't think trying to constantly Like, you've seen my Instagram post. I've archived I know which one you're thinking about. Yeah, my one with
The
the...
one that we told you to post this one and you completely disregarded us and
No, no,
posted
no.
the other one.
No. The one with, okay, either me in my dog pants or me wearing my Mickey Mouse dress shirt. That
With
is...
the Rubik's
Yes,
Cube, the
yes.
headband, and like the 2 different shoes,
Yeah, I
I
was
think.
wearing Converse and Timberlands. Yeah, you see, that is not someone who thinks, you know what? I'm trying to be the same as everyone today. If you're fitting in.
Yeah. Just because of like what they see on TV or like what they've been exposed to, it'll just be, if you're different, no one's gonna like you.
Oh, so like in those American sitcom
Yeah.
dramas.
Yeah.
Okay. The ones where that, like, if you're even a little bit different, you get picked on. I think, what about in, I guess, today's society? Do you think people are striving towards becoming different? Because I understand that with what you said about school applications and just overall in today's society with social media and everything going on, to be able to thrive in today's society, you got to be different than everyone else. Do you think we're moving towards that or farther from that in the future?
We're moving towards that for sure, because I think everyone wants to be different in their own way.
Yeah.
They don't want to be having like the same interests, the same paths as everyone else. Like for me, I have dyed hair, right?
Yeah.
Like my hair's half blonde.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't dye it necessarily to be different.
Yeah.
I dyed it because I wanted to, but a lot of people will see it as she dyed it because she wanted to be different, because it stands out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was not my intention,
Mm-hmm.
but that's what everyone else sees.
Do you think subconsciously all of us are trying to be different in regards, like, even if it's a small portion of our lives, we try to be different?
I think so. Like, we may not think about it, but it's probably there.
Okay. Yeah, I think just covering all of these topics gives a pretty good span of exactly where teenagers may lie. Okay, would you like to talk about commitment, rejection? Which one would you like to talk about next?
Commitment.
Okay. All right, fear of commitment and intimacy. I found this. Why do you think it is? Why do you think teenagers are scared of commitment and intimacy?
I don't know. Why do you think that?
Okay, I think I can give a general scope for the... I think, no, for me, in my opinion, when it comes to... I won't say this for all guys, but for guys, it's kind of like, okay, the one who, I guess, has the most relationships is... Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it's like the one who has the most relationships in an average school, or at least what I see from American and other dramas and TV shows, that a person who has the most relationships ultimately is the most popular, and having a sense of commitment for months to years restrains that, I guess. And yeah, I mean, like, I guess being settled down, it's high school. People are trying to live their best life, and if living their best life means having to have multiple relationships, then that's the way they go. That's what I think a fear of commitment means, at least in my opinion.
That's interesting.
Why?
I have a completely different perspective on that.
Go ahead.
I think fear of commitment mainly has to do with the fact that you're afraid, or the person who has this fear would be afraid of just being with a person for a long period of time, but not knowing if they're the right person.
So, like, that you can... Are we talking about high school sense, mainly? Or just, like...
In general. That's in
okay.
general.
But then wouldn't you know after at least a couple of months? Because I know that you're trying... Like, there's some points where you get into a relationship and it may feel too awkward to end things off, but then if it's someone that you deem that you don't think you're going to spend the rest of your life with, then I think it's worth the uncomfortable talk of breaking it up.
Yes, but also I think it's a lot of people think relationships are just a straight line,
Okay. Yeah.
or at least that's what I think.
Okay.
But it's actually more of like an up and down, like constant, like it just constantly changes.
Yeah.
So people think that if you start off with a good relationship, it's just going to stay that way. It doesn't. That's why people break up. And people are afraid of that happening. So we start off on a high and then something goes wrong and we just break up. That's why they're afraid of commitment, because they're afraid that that's going to happen.
That they're gonna break up.
That they're going to break up.
But don't you think that the strongest couples ultimately have that the highs and the lows, and they're the ones who are able to withstand the lowest lows?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, for sure.
Okay. And the other sub-point is fear of commitment and intimacy. I actually don't know what that means. What is the fear of intimacy?
Fear of getting too close to someone, right?
How so? Physical sense?
It can be either one.
Yeah, actually no.
Physical
I can see
or
the
like
physical.
emotional.
But how emotional? That one doesn't click with me. Physical I can see. I don't know about it.
Because you're a guy.
Okay, say it then. For all of you who didn't hear, she said, it's because I'm a guy. All right, yeah, what is it? What is getting fear of emotional in that sense?
Because you let someone in. It's like you let someone in, and then if you break up, they already know that about you.
Like everything about you, or what do you mean?
Okay, like emotional as in you tell someone something that's like really deep and like something you've never told someone before, and then you guys break up. They're going to know that about you for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And I would have a problem living with that, low-key.
Actually, I think you're right about when you said because you're a guy. Because, no, that has not crossed my mind. I know for a fact there are many people that I've told about secrets that, like, I would never tell to anyone. And it hasn't crossed my mind once. Maybe because I'm trusting with that information that they're not going to do anything. Or it's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it hasn't crossed my mind with, like, emotional intimacy.
I think you're one of the rare ones, though. Because,
What do you mean?
okay, a lot of guys don't want to tell people things about themselves.
Yeah, that sense of vulnerability, right?
Yeah, because
okay.
it's vulnerability. You are very good at that. Like, you're okay with telling people stuff.
Very cool. Okay.
You're okay with telling people stuff that's, like, vulnerable for you.
Huh.
I'm okay with it usually.
Yeah.
But there are some people who I've never told things, and I probably will never tell them.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
That's just in general. Like, anyone would have some people that they tell things, some people that they don't. It's like that whole situation. Okay, well, I think for high schoolers, the fear of commitment would be the fact that we have 4 years, or like whenever you start the relationship, you have that time period to when you graduate, because a lot of people go to universities far away and everyone kind of splits up. So it would be the fear of having to do long distance, and majority of long distance relationships don't last. So that kind of they just don't bother because they're afraid of having to go through that whole thing in high school. That's why people don't commit. Or, like, people say high school relationships are a fluke because they never go past graduation, or almost never go past graduation.
I think overall, we're just going to go to the last topic. The biggest fear for any teenager, in my opinion, would be fear of rejection. Now, I know I don't think you have this fear, but I still want to hear your thoughts on it.
I'm trying to think if I do.
Fear of rejection.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think I've had instances when I was younger that I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out, so I got scared.
Yeah.
But I don't think I do have a fear of rejection.
But then, okay, why is that? Why don't you think you have the fear of rejection?
I mean, you already know this, but I've never been rejected, so...
Wow, good one.
I mean, I don't have experience being rejected.
Okay.
So...
Why do you think other people are scared of rejection? I think for me that it's I've seen rejection not in a romantic sense, but in a competitive sense, mainly because it's kind of where I'm putting my best efforts into something, or for others in a relationship, like you're presenting your best self, but then someone is going out and saying no, like you're not good enough, or you're not specific, like to me, or for me, what this competition entails.
Okay, I can understand that,
Yeah.
but again, I've never had experience with it.
Hmm.
But I get where you're coming from. Like, it makes sense that you would be afraid to get rejected from something
Yeah.
when you've really been working towards it your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I have been rejected a lot.
Like in this
Job applications.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That was the most horrendous time of my life.
So you have.
Oh
been
my
rejected.
god.
Yeah.
Yes, a lot. I probably put out like, okay, before I got my first part-time job,
Yeah.
I probably put out like 40 applications.
Oh my
I know.
gosh, yeah.
I put out like 40.
Yeah.
And I probably heard back from like 5 of them.
Yeah.
And out of those 5, maybe like 2 or 3 of them offered to reschedule.
Yeah.
And the other ones, just when I tried to reschedule the interview date, they just didn't respond, which really that was really frustrating.
Yeah.
That was so frustrating. Now that I'm thinking about it, like, looking back, that was harsh. Like, that was hard for me.
I mean, what made you to keep going? Was it that outer motivation?
I needed a job.
Okay.
I mean, okay, my parents were kind of pushing me.
Mm.
They really pushed me. They were like, why aren't you getting a job?
Yeah.
Why don't you have a job yet? They thought it would be easy
Yeah.
to get a job as a teenager because like most of them are fast food or retail, and there's a lot of them, especially at like malls and things. And they were saying like, it should be easy, why are you struggling so much? And I'm like, I don't know. And I was stressing out because of it, and I got rejected a lot, but I finally found a job. So we're good. But then that store closed down, so we're not good. But we're good.
So now you're looking for a new job now, or no?
Nah. No, I was gonna quit, so I'm good.
What are your thoughts going into that? Because for me, I know that when you do want to ask someone out, you have all these preconceptions of what they're gonna say. It's like, oh, maybe they'll say yes, maybe they'll say no.
I actually don't go in with expectations.
Really? So it's just zero expectations?
It's kind of just a go for it. What happens, happens.
Ultimately, I think that having no expectations for anything is a pretty good mantra for just about anything. Because if you don't have any expectations going into it, you can't get upset. So I think just to wrap up everything, for you, what is your biggest fear as a teenager?
I think my biggest fear would be just being the same as everyone else. That's going to be the toughest one.
So
me.
you're scared of conformity.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I think that goes over everything, you know? Like, fear of failure. You're going to fail if you're the same as everyone else.
Okay.
Fear of, like, I don't know, fear of intimacy? Or, like,
Intimacy,
fear of...
and failure.
Yeah, like, fear of everything. If you're not different, it's going to play into everything else. Because you don't stand out.
Yeah.
You're just like another person who walks across the road.
And you don't want to be that.
I don't want to be that.
What about every other teenager? Do you think they share the same fear? That they have the fear of being the same as everyone else?
Yeah, because maybe they haven't thought about it. Maybe they'll start thinking about it now. But in general, I think everyone's afraid that they're going to be like everyone else. Just another person who goes through the same way as everyone else, does the same things, comes out the same way, and then I don't think they'll be happy.
I'm going to ask this final question, and this is one I ask in every single interview. I know we've gone on a lot of tangents, but that's okay. Let's say you have every single parent in the world, and they're going to listen to this one piece of advice that you give them for their children or teenagers who are feeling any of these fears: rejection, loneliness, being different, fear of the future, failure, commitment, intimacy. For them having these fears as a teenager, what would you tell these parents to help their teenagers get through this?
I'd say it's okay to put expectations on your kid
Yeah.
because you only want the best for them. Like, that's what parents want.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful that you're not pushing your kid too far. That you're not, like, telling them, oh, you have to get 100, otherwise you're failing. Like, you're not good enough, because that's just going to break them. And you don't want them to break, you want them to grow. So just put expectations on your kids, but be nice to them about it. Like, if they do show up and they fail, even though they tried their hardest, you have to let them know that they're doing their best, and you know that, so that they don't break from everything and all the pressures that they're going through. Just let them know that you're there for them. That's the most important part.
And I know that you've yourself been through a lot. For every single teenager who has a fear of any of those things that we've talked about, because I know that you're probably farther than I am on these fears and doing better with them, what I mean, what would be your advice for teenagers who have fears like these?
I think the biggest thing you should be worrying about is not the fears themselves, but what you're going to do to fix them. Like, don't let it take over your whole life, because I've been there, and it's not a good path to go down. Make sure that you're, like, even if they start creeping up on you, make sure that you have things in place, like your safe place, basically. Make sure you have something that you love doing that you know will get you out of whatever you're afraid of. And, like, make sure you're doing whatever that is constantly. Like, if it's drawing, if it's, like, dancing, singing, playing piano, whatever it is, make sure you're doing that constantly, because that's going to help you get out of any dark place that you might go through in your life.
All right, Elle. That concludes our conversation. This was actually our longest one yet. Congratulations, you passed my best friend on this. But
Sorry.
all right, yeah. Elle, I just want to thank you so much for being on here. Super fun, at least in my opinion.
Same. I'm happy to be here. It was really fun.
Sounds super sarcastic, but okay.
No, I'm
thank
not.
you.
I promise.
This next conversation, we actually talk about the fears of the individual that I'm talking with. We actually dig a lot deeper than I expected, and we bring out a lot of truths that actually affect a lot of teenagers today. We talk about trying to fit in and what are the core values resulting from trying to constantly keep up with everyone and caring about everyone's opinions. We go super deep in this interview, and I'm really glad we did it. Hope that you enjoy it. All right, I think we'll just get straight into it. Okay, C, thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today.
No problem.
All right, good start. Okay, I think we'll just get straight into it. C, what are some of your fears as a teenager?
Well, as a teenager, you're kind of like lost, or like you don't really know what's your goal in the future.
Yeah.
And the second one would be failure. You're scared of failing. For example, I'm in grade 12 right now, and you're scared of failing your grades and not getting into any post-secondary or university. And a third one would be the need of money.
Okay, I want to touch on your second point where you said fear of failure.
Yeah.
You have these failures. You said like not getting into the university you want or getting bad grades, but are those specifically your goals? Is that what you want for yourself?
I don't think it's not only for myself, but like it's also like expectation, and like my grandma, my mom and dad, they want me to get into post-secondary and into university. Yeah, it's not only my goal, but like also expectation from the family.
So you said that it's not only your expectations, but all around you. Do you think that that's common for most teenagers, that they're not only following where they want themselves to go, but they mainly have a goal of where their parents want them, what their parents want them to do, and things like that?
I don't think that's the case for everyone, but like the environment you grow in with your parent, like everything in their surrounding could influence you in some way. So then like how you grow up in the future really depends how you were influenced.
Because I mean, I feel like for me, my parents have essentially given me everything from when I was born to now, and then like they've paved the future from age 0 to when I was born to now 18 as technically an adult. You know what I mean, right?
You did all the competition because they wanted you to
No,
do
no,
it?
no, not like that. But then like I felt like right as of right now,
The field that you're going into?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of like I feel like I owe them. You know,
Okay.
is that? Do you feel that? No, yeah.
No, I
You
just
don't. Okay.
why?
No, okay, because I feel like I owe them my my the things that I'm supposed to do because they've given me the route so far. I feel like I have to owe them at least if I go into business, then I owe them that fact.
I don't understand.
Okay, so it's kind of like okay, we'll put it in this sense, but I don't know if it's a good analogy or not.
Yeah, sure.
Let's say you're paid 100,000
Yeah.
to go into business.
Uh-huh.
It's something like that. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I have an obligation, and I don't even know if it's true or not, but I feel like I have an obligation.
Okay, so you're saying you're okay, and then another example would be like your parent is the investor. They're investing in you,
Yeah.
and you're saying that I want to repay my investor at least the 100,000
Yeah,
back,
that I borrowed.
and not at least, or at least does not have any loss.
Yeah, yeah. So like, I don't want them to feel like they wasted their money. Oh yeah, like they wasted their money on me.
Yeah, that yo,
You get that?
you
You know what I'm saying?
you explained it a bit confusing.
At first, okay, I didn't know how to explain it because like I feel like this is the first time I'm actually going through it.
Okay.
So you don't have that feeling?
No, I just think that I'll grow up when when I have a job. I'll just start repaying you. I'll just like take care of you when you're growing older and older, and I'll
Mhm.
take yeah
You're the oldest out of your siblings, right?
yeah I am.
Huh. So you have that added pressure of going up and being the first sibling to start and
Well, they always said that I'm the first child,
hmm
so you have to be the role model,
yeah.
and I'm like okay, but like I'm like open-minded person, so then sometimes I take that stress on my back, on my
Yeah.
shoulder, and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
So I just let it go sometimes. So then it just like depends like how I feel, like emotion at that time.
So you're not scared of, in the case, messing up because you're open-minded, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a fear of messing up in front of your siblings because you know that in the end you'll clear things up.
I don't really care about that one. I don't care about if I messed up in front of my siblings.
Yeah.
But like I always have like always see like I have a pathway, like a vision that I want to go down.
hmm
So like just like kind of go down the business route, and how I do I'm not sure, but it's just like one step by a time.
hmm What do you think is the most common fear that you have that's similar to most teenagers?
Failure.
Failure. But who constitutes what's failure to you? Who determines what failure is to you? Is it your parents? Is it society? Is it yourself?
It's myself, because like even though like my mom's very also open minded, I show her my mark,
Yeah.
and she's like, okay, try harder next time.
Okay.
But like my dad was like, okay, that's bad.
Okay.
I got this high mark
When I was
and
younger?
yeah,
Wait, okay.
and I'm
okay.
in the top of the class,
Oh, boy.
in the top 5 of the class,
Yeah.
and you're at this point. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I feel bad.
Yeah.
I'm not trying that hard because I'm procrastinating.
Yeah.
But like, I just like they won't put that pressure on me, but like, what they say will kind of like give me like a like think that I'm not doing that well, and I admit that I'm not doing that well. So then I basically have my own measure of what is failure. And for example, I have like a end goal for overall average at the end of the grade 12.
You said your parents have two different ways of reacting to when you get let's say, a bad mark.
Yeah.
Your dad is more like, more, I guess I would say strict. Just more strict in the sense that if you get the mark, then he tells you how it is and he's honest. And with your mom, it's more like open-minded, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
Which one do you think is more impactful in your life, like as a teenager? Like, which one's more motivating for you to actually go and try and get better marks?
Well, to be honest, I think having both my mom and dad is very important, because like one, it's just like letting you like relax and let the pressure release and like the stress off your back, and one is just like telling you that you have to get your thing back together, you have to get your pace back together, and you have to like start working harder. So like one is just like giving you some assist, and one is just like giving you like a push in the back to work harder,
So
to like motivate you.
do you think you have a fear of being different? I just want I was looking at my notebook, and then this was something that I've talked to my first guest about, being different, and she disagreed with me. What do you think about the fear of being different?
I don't think being different is bad. Being different is being like yourself. Like everyone's different from each other. Like if you're trying to copying or trying to fit in to a circle that you don't belong to, you're not yourself anymore, you know?
And it's not worth doing that to yourself, would you say?
No, because like you still like if you're just like you're not actually being yourself. Like you're in change from like what's your like your first goal. Like I want to do this. Like for example, the vision I have for the future, I want to do this. If you try to fit in yourself like into another circle that you don't really belong to, but you just like it actually will change you. Like
So it would change your values, change your goals.
change your ethics and stuff, and your perspective and how you exactly.
Huh. No, you see, for the first interview I had, we talked about different, like being different, but then we mainly agreed that we want to be able to fit in with the same social circles, but you talked about it's not worth it if you, I guess,
Or sacrificing something.
Yeah, you're sacrificing yourself to fit in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's different values. That's cool. Do you have any instances in your life where, for being different, you started to lose your friends, or something along the lines of that?
In my case, no, but like, so like, there's a girl that there's a circle of friend
Yeah.
that they're going to this high school.
Wait, is this our school or just a story?
Another person.
Okay.
Real person.
Okay.
Okay, so like, so she and her circle, like her friends, is going to this school, but when she could have went to the Canada top 3 high school.
Yeah. Or or high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's in the IB program. She's really smart.
Yeah.
So like, so like if she done her academic at the number 3 school in Canada,
Yeah.
she could got to like any university.
Yeah.
Whether it is in the United States, Canada,
Wherever.
or in Europe, whatever in the world.
Yeah.
But like, because she like took her friend's advice, she went with school with them, and I think that's a very dumb choice.
Oh, because she sacrificed what she could have had for fitting in as of right now.
Right, because no, you're sacrificing your future.
Yeah.
Like your friend, if they're friends, like if you're a really good friend, you don't lose contact just because of distance.
Yeah.
You just always like for example, we're in the 20th century.
Yeah.
We have technology. We have a phone. We have social media. You could talk and video call in long distance.
Okay.
And your future is like there's like 20, 40, 60 years ahead of you.
Yeah.
And you're literally just wasting that.
So it wasn't the society we live in today. If you are close enough friends, it doesn't matter that there's going to be a small break. You're still going to become friends by the end of it if you're really true friends.
And life journey is long.
Yeah.
So then like they're not gonna be your only friends.
Oh, that's true as well.
You never like don't ever be scared of like losing this friend, but like you could always meet another one.
Yeah.
in the future, right?
Yeah.
You don't know who's, for example, my mom,
Mhm.
like, her best friends, like, it's not like forever best friend.
Mhm.
That's only in like the fairy tales and stuff.
Okay.
Okay. So then like your journey actually change and make who you are.
Mhm.
So then your friends also changes. It's like your personality and your perspective will like never always be the same forever.
Mhm.
So then like you could always break up and meet another one. So like sacrificing your future is not worth it for like couple years
Yeah.
you're spending together. Who knows who's gonna go into what industry
Yeah.
and what university?
All right. I think I got it. I got 2 questions to finalize it.
Yeah.
All right. So this, I guess, yeah, 2 more questions to finalize this conversation. The first one is, how do you think your fears have changed from when you were a child to now, and how do you think they're going to change going forward when you become an adult? I think you can do it from how did your fears change from as a child to now? Because you said fear of failure, future, and money. What was it before as a child?
So as a child, because I know that Canada education is very loose.
Yeah.
So then like at that time, even though I still had I still have the fear of failure, but like I don't take that serious.
Mhm.
So like I just do whatever I can
Mhm.
without putting too much effort
Okay.
to it. So like that got me into high school. There
Yeah.
you go. And there's not much else for for previous year of me. And in the future, it could be more like money wise.
I just asked you the question I asked before the interview, which was, I know you had said fears of failure, money, and the future. If you had your parents talking to you and you wanted to be comforted in this sense, how would you like to be comforted in all of these fears you have?
I really, for these fear, I don't mind talking to my parents,
Yeah.
but like I'm more like a self-comfort person. You
How
know,
so?
I will like state the problem there
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
and the fear. For example, in the sense, I'll tell my mom. I won't really tell my dad that
Okay.
because my dad's like, I don't know why. But like I just won't talk about these issue to him.
I mean, do you wish you talked to him about this, or is your mom, like, talking with your mom good enough?
Like talking to my mom, I'll feel more relaxed.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like you're like, okay, it's more casual talking. I was
Uh-huh.
like, okay, I just fear this in the future,
Yeah.
and then I think it this way. I could solve it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom, she will give some small advice, but then she'll not really like paint the picture for you.
Is that what you want? Do you want small advice, or would you rather be heard and accepted of where you are? Or what do you want?
Okay, so so how my mom comfort me is like, just like, it's okay if you're tired. Like we always got your back. But like, and I'm like, okay, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. And then I'm like, okay, I can solve it this way. I'm just like, other than that, my mom wouldn't give much other, or like some small tips about how to do it.
Mhm.
But like most of the time, I was like try to like think and how to solve the issue myself and comfort myself.
Mm. So that's mainly how you deal with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like-
and you're not always looking for advice, right? You just want someone to hear you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all right, final question. If you had, in your life when you felt the most afraid of the future, what advice would you give them?
Stay open-minded
Yeah.
and don't put all the pressure on your back. Always like look for something else if that's not working for you.
Okay. Because in the big picture, it doesn't always matter. I think we can end it. Okay, C, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
No problem.
This next conversation, I'm talking with a young adult who has finished high school and who has finished university. And I did this conversation mainly as a way of testing the fears that we have right now as teenagers and really seeing how it holds up to truth as in the future. This is going to be a reflection of what this person has learned within the past couple years and how it has helped them today. Okay, G, as we start off, I just want to start off with the beginning question.
Mm-hmm.
As a teenager, what are some of your biggest fears?
Being able to fit in. I think I've been able to reflect on that a lot. I think throughout my high school times, that was my biggest struggle, which sort of led me to, like in grade 12, it led me to transfer schools, just because I've had a really hard time fitting in, finding the right group of friends that I can really relate to and have a good time with, or people I can rely on. But it seemed that I was too focused on going with the trend and trying to find, like, it's really cliche, but like, who are the cool kids? Like, how am I going to benefit from being part of this crowd and like make sure that my life will be smooth? And I think my biggest fear was being left out and like not being liked, because I think that's like a lot for teenagers, is they want to be well liked by people, which is why they try so hard to pursue certain things through social media now and social status and things like that. So I feel like because of that fear, it led me to be very petty over small things. And then I would bounce between different friend groups because I would try to be like, this group doesn't really fit with me. I don't think they're cool enough. Let me try another one. And honestly, that did not go well at all. It went really down south. So that's why I had to transfer to a different school to start afresh, because my actions and my fear led me to a point where I felt like nobody liked me, right? Because even though it might not have been true, but because of that fear, it like ate at my mind, which is why I felt very like depressed at school. Like I felt like nobody was on my side because I never stuck with the same friend group, because that fear just kept on telling me like, you need to find someone, you're not good enough, you're not well liked. And then so I kept on trying to chase something, but I didn't know what that something was.
Has it changed for where you are right now? Do you look back and like, I know what I was chasing?
Honestly, when I look back at it now, I honestly think like my mindset was so narrow. I wasn't looking at the broader picture, but I mean, it makes sense why I felt that way. When I look back at it now, I just think I'm so foolish, just because I'm able to look at the bigger picture and I've already been through it. But when I was in that moment, obviously I didn't know anything else, because that's like, I grew up going to elementary school, then going to high school, and like I didn't really have any other experiences, and I didn't really have any other friend groups, because like we get into extracurricular activities, and then we get into like fellowships and things like that. Like I grew up at a church group, but even at that church I grew up in, I didn't have much friends because it was a very small group. So I only had 1 or 2 people who were my age. So because of that, I always directed my joys to what I had in school, because that was my only social life, basically.
I mean, from my second interview, the one I did with, my second interview, we touched on the point that he had the fear of fitting in as well. I think just overall, that's an overarching fear for most teenagers.
Yeah.
Is that like you'll stand out.
Yeah.
But then the point that he brought up was that even I think for his age right now, that was pretty wise to say, but he said, as he tried to fit in with the wrong types of people, he said that it wasn't worth changing your values for.
Yeah.
Would you say that, like, looking back on it right now?
Yeah, honestly, like, that's when I realized that that's not my type of crowd. Like, they do things that I would never have wanted to do. They say things I would never have wanted to say. They treat people the way I never wanted to be treated. And it's not worth putting a strain on your character and changing yourself and lying to yourself just to be liked by other people. Because at the end of the day, when they really find out who you truly are and you try to go against them, they're not gonna want to be friends with you. They're gonna think like, you're trash, bro. Like, why are you hanging out with us? And like, oh, you're so lame. What the hell? Get out of our group or whatever. Or they start to bully you. Who knows? And I think I had to learn that the hard way, which is why I transferred schools in grade 12 because of that. And I tried to stand up for someone who was being outcasted and who was being bullied. I became the one who got singled out. And then it felt bad because after all my efforts, well, in my head, I tried so hard to fit in with people. I tried so hard not to start any drama with anybody. But the one time I stand up for somebody in my friend group, they shunned me.
'Cause for you to be able to help that person in your friend group,
Yeah.
like stand up for them, because I know that probably aligned with your own values to be able to stand up for them in the first place. If you look back at it now, was it worth sticking to your values? And even though you got singled out at the end of high school, was it worth sticking to your values in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Even though at that point in time, sometimes, like when I was dealing with it, I was struggling through it, I felt regretful because I was like, if I hadn't stood up for her, maybe I wouldn't be suffering like this. If I hadn't said anything, maybe it would just be her suffering alone and I would be fine. Like I don't have to transfer schools. I won't be suffering like this. I wouldn't be crying in the car. I wouldn't be crying when I go home, feeling all alone, being all depressed. But when I look back on it now, I think it was very, very worth it because that's the turning point of when I realized you can't settle. You can't compromise when people are going against your values, and you can't try to fit in with them when it's going against what you really believe in. Because at the end, when you do that, you lose a sense of who you really are. And like, I think losing a sense of yourself is worse than losing your friends, because you can always find friends. Like you can, there's plenty of people out there, but like when you lose yourself, like it's a whole different struggle. And it's a lot harder to get back up on your feet when you don't have those precious people around you who can help you, right? So yeah, I think it was really worth it in the end.
We talked about it's not worth losing a part of yourself over your friends, right? I think that's a big fear for a lot of teenagers. It's not in the sense that they are losing a sense of themselves, but they don't know what to do with their lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know for me that all of high school, grade 9 to grade 12, like right now, I've been slowly trying to figure out where I am or like where I'm trying to go in life.
Yeah.
So, and I think that I know for me, like in my school, I don't have a set group that I'm always with. I'm kind of like you, like when you're in high school, I kind of bounce between groups.
Right.
But then at the same time that I know for me, it's always that I always have myself.
Yeah.
And like, that's why I've been doing so much self-improvement stuff. So and it doesn't matter whichever group that I'm in, it's always going to be dependent like on myself. Because what if I go to either US or to UBC or University of British Columbia?
Yeah.
It's a lot farther and I'm probably not going to have anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mentioned this in the first interview, like a list of topics that I think are some of the biggest fears of teenagers. Tell me what you think about them. Okay. Fear of rejection, fear of loneliness, fear of being different, fear of the future, fear of failure and expectations, and fear of commitment and intimacy.
I feel like those fears, they are very valid fears. Like I feel like everybody has those fears, regardless of whether or not you're a teenager or you're an adult.
I know this one I didn't get to talk about as much as other ones, but it's the fear of the future. And now you're a little older than teenager. So,
Just a little bit.
Just a little
Just
bit.
a little bit.
How does like the fears that you had, would you say that you had a fear of the future when you're a teenager?
Oh, definitely.
And then how have those fears matched up with where you are today?
Yes, they definitely do. I think fear of the future will always be something people will be afraid of. It's human nature because we always, like, that's what everyone in this world is working for.
Yeah.
Working for the future. how to better ourselves, how to provide for ourselves in the future. And like, which is why we do planning. This is why education is important. We're paving the road to success for the future. But I think for me in high school, fear for the future was, what am I going to do in life? So what is my career going to look like? Like, how should I choose a program that I would want so that my future would be good? And I think when I was in school, school really taught us like to plan for a good career, which makes sense. It's normal. It's just how things are. But I think as people became more aware of other options out there, because early high school, all my teachers really taught us to take courses that really that will match the university programs that you want to apply for. And then when I switched classes, I met a teacher that was very inspiring. Every morning before we start class, he always turned on an inspirational video. And this inspirational video isn't about career. It isn't about making money, but it's more about progression, improvement in yourself, in your character, in your goals. And that made me think of my future in a different light, even though sometimes when you're stuck in that moment, like even in university, I was really fearful of the future because all my friends were doing so well. They told me, oh, I'm going to this co-op place. I'm earning so much money. And then they're in really well-known programs. They get really good grades. And then I just felt like I was a regular bean. You know, I was in a regular program. I wasn't in something special. I had a lot of other people in my class. And honestly, growing up in an Asian family and an Asian community, all those aunties and uncles are gonna be like, what are you doing? What do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, like things and that puts a pressure on myself because I'm like, shoot, does that mean I'm gonna be poor in the future? Like that's literally my mindset, even though it was the dumbest thing ever. But I thought, oh my God, with what I'm doing right now in school compared to other people, what if I don't make enough money? What if like I can't survive? What if I can't? What if I'm gonna be like, what if I'm not gonna be rich? Honestly, that used to be my goal. I want to be rich. As shallow as it sounds. I mean, like, I think a lot of people, they want to be well off. I know, like, it's normal. Like, who doesn't want to have money? Let's be real. Yeah, like, come on. Like, the whole world, literally, all your music that you listen to is all about being rich and, like, throwing their money around. And, like, why wouldn't that influence me? But I think the inspirational videos really helped me think of my future, and in the future I want to be happy. I want to be someone that can look back on my life and be proud of my achievements. So I started at that point on, I started to like not focus more on monumental value, but focus more on quality of life in general. But it's the fear of quality of life in the sense of riches still get the most of me sometimes. I mean, now that I'm out of school and I'm working, my friends who did well in school, obviously they were making a lot more money than me. Starting salary and everything is like, wow, damn, that's good. And compared to me, I'm like, okay, not doing so well, but that's okay. That's okay. It's a work in progress. I don't want to like discourage myself, but sometimes it gets the most of you, and I feel like it's gonna be continuous because people are gonna pressure you. My parents pressure me all the time. They ask me like, why aren't you gonna find another job that brings in more salary, brings in more money? I'm like, you know what, just give me time to think about it, because even after like going through high school and university, I still don't know what I want to do, to be very honest. Like there isn't some end goal that I'm like working towards. Like some people, like career wise, I learned that things always change. Like I had a goal going into university that I wanted to be a child life specialist. So it's working in the hospital with children, and dealing with their families and telling them about the procedures and just accompanying the children in the hospital, just so that the stress of being ill and the stress of the procedures don't get the most of them, and that someone's there to accompany them. That's what I wanted to do when I went into university. And then it changed all of a sudden. And then it became to a point where I was like, shoot, I don't know what I want to do anymore. And then I started becoming like fearful of like, damn it, I'm useless. Oof. Like, I don't know what I want to do anymore. And then it transitioned again. Oh, I want to do this. And then transition again. Oh, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And it's like constantly changing because your values start to change and your goals start to change. And like, I've sort of learned, even though I still deal with it now, that don't get so caught up on the future, basically, because no one's going to know what's going to happen tomorrow. No one's going to know what's going to happen in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, a year, 2, 5, 10, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I lost my train of thought, but that's end.
Okay.
Next question.
When it comes to something you said about the monetary value and in high school trying to be able to be well off when after university and all, and you said that now it's more of a fight for trying to be happy in the end, by the end of life.
Yeah.
How would this mindset like help you when you're a teenager, like to not be able to focus so much on money but rather to be happy in all of high school? What would you have done, I guess, as a teenager?
Being more open to trying new things. I was very closed because I only focused on a certain things. But if my mindset was, I want to be happy in life and I want to have a quality of life and look back and say, I was proud of what I did, as this is really embarrassing though. So like I really like to all throughout my childhood, my like in elementary school we used to write down on a piece of paper, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
And I remember in grade 4 I wrote down, I want to be a singer, because it's so like, I look back and I'm like, oh my god, that's so embarrassing. But then I've never like, and then I asked my friends, I'm like, what did you write? And they're like, oh, I wrote, I want to be a doctor, I want to be like a lawyer, I want to be like a firefighter. I'm like, what the heck? Like, why are we so lame? But so some of my friends have actually worked towards that goal already, and I'm so proud of them for that, because they've actually found what they wanted to do when they're young and they actually made the steps towards it. But for me, I thought mine was so like lame, because like, come on, being a singer, who does that? Like, it's so hard to be a singer. Like, only famous people be singers and whatever, only talented people are singers. But then if I had the courage to ever go out to an audition program or anything like that, I wouldn't have any regrets, honestly.
I know for you and any other teenager who wants to be able to take up more stuff, because I know this fear of regret, it haunts me a lot today as well, like not doing enough. I know for me that like, I know with business ideas, something that helps me a lot, because I like to start a lot of side projects, and yeah, if they don't work out, that's fine. Because this specific, like this equipment, it run me quite a good amount. I don't know if you listened to the introduction episode, but like it was a hefty amount. But I know that by the end of it, even if all of this flops, I would have gained a skill of interview, or at least learned to better speak to people and ask better questions. So I think just looking at it to reframe, to be able to take skills instead of like monetary value, that'd be I guess overall that's helped me a lot more.
I think the thing that I regret the most not doing as a teenager is exploring, because that's the time when you have the most cushion for failure. Because you have people, like your parents are there for you. You don't have any like, I didn't have much responsibilities as a teenager, so being able to fail, it was like a lot easier to fail. But now I regret it now, because as an adult, you don't have much room for failure.
I don't think you're classified as an adult yet. I think you're more of a young adult.
Young adult.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to be an adult. Honestly, I don't want to get at that point, which is why I think I know people around me who are struggling right now. Like, I'm trying to prepare myself so I don't have to go through that struggle. I mean, I think that's why I have lost a lot of my sense of purpose in life, because my only ambition right now is to earn enough money just so I can survive. And I never had this before when I was in school. And now that I have this, I'm just like, oh, damn it. I wish I was back in school. I really do wish that I was back in school and I at least tried something that I really wanted to do and didn't let that fear get the best of me.
If you're to start one thing or do one thing, you said you had a fear of regret for like right now. If you're to do one thing in high school, just one thing that would help you, even if you fail, that you would have said, I gave my best efforts towards this and I now feel much, much better because I did it. What's one thing you would have done in high school that would eliminate that fear of regret?
Music. Because that's something I really enjoy. I always had a passion for music. I think pursuing music and taking steps to like, I remember starting to think, oh, maybe I should just do a SoundCloud just for fun. Yeah. Honestly, like no one's going to know who I am. I can just make a username, just put my voice up there, make some music. No one's going to know who I am. What's the problem with that? But I never did it because I was afraid of judgment from other people. But I'm really regretful because why not? Like if I did it, I wouldn't have any regrets. I would have had time exploring my hobbies. And sometimes I think, what if I did do the SoundCloud? What if people recognize me? Or like, what if I did well? Who knows? We don't know. We'll never know because I never did it. I dream about it sometimes. Like, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that? And like, honestly, yeah, honestly, if I did that, I think I wouldn't have any, like, as much of a regret. Just doing music without fear from judgment of other people, and like not, because a lot of it was also, rather than fear of judgment, I was fearful of the fact that maybe I don't have enough skill to do it. Right?
Yeah.
So like that's a regret. But if I did that, I think I would not have had that regret. I wouldn't hold that regret right now, and I'd be a lot more happier.
I think you've given a lot of value to me and also a lot of other teenagers about the fear of regret and overall judgment from others. What about switching it on to the parents? If you were to give advice to the parents of teenagers who are feeling the fears of, as we said in this conversation, fear of regret, fear of judgment from others, fear of being different from others,
Yeah.
what would be the advice for the parents to help out their children?
I think I have two advices. I think it's a really common thing. At least this is what I wish I have had from my parents. One is to listen. Like, listen to your children. And because not just listen through, like, sitting down, like, oh, tell me about your life. But, like, pay attention to them and see the little things that they do in their life, because it gives hints of what they're really going through. I mean, sometimes, like, I would throw a tantrum because I'm not like feeling the best that day because something happened at school. But my parents would just be like, oh, she's just going through puberty. Like, come on. But like, I stopped using puberty as an excuse. Like, like we go through things too. Like, life is hard sometimes. I mean, like, people are mean. And like, there's only so much that teenagers can handle. And they really need support from adults when things like these happen. And when they need guidance in life. So just pay attention, stop and pause, and try to focus on your children, but also be supportive when they decide to do something, or when they decide to say they want to do something. Be supportive and say, yeah, give it a go. I've got your back. As long as it's not harmful to them, obviously. But be as supportive as you can, just because. For me, even though I never opened up to my parents about what I've really wanted to do, my typical Asian parents, they always pressured me to, like, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? And every single time they told me to do something else, I lost a sense of what my true goals were. Because when they do that, I think, oh, should I just listen to my parents and do what they want me to do with my life? And then I stopped thinking about what my true values and what my true goals are. And then when I grew up, I regret it. So I think parents just really need to slow down their lifestyle and observe their children, because that's where all the little hints will come through their personality, through what they say, through the things they do. I mean, if you see that your child is very interested in one thing, don't say, oh, I think you should focus more on school. Like, honestly, now that I'm out of school, like, education is like important, but like, whatever, bro. Like, like, I know education is important in everything, and I see so much value in university, because that's the time when we actually become independent and we learn more about ourselves. Because, well, honestly, when because I lived away from home when I was in university, and that's when I stopped relying on my parents and relied a lot on myself. And that's when I really found out, oh, this is what I really want to do. This is who I really want to be. And I never really consulted my parents about that. But now that I'm back at home, I'm starting to sense that pressure again, because of what they want me to be. Parents should be supportive, and they should listen.
Those were the 2 points?
Those were the 2 points.
Okay.
Listen and be supportive. Yeah, just be like, yeah, give it a go. Give it a go. Give it a shot. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. Don't blame your child for something that doesn't work out, basically. I think that's what I was afraid of. If something doesn't work out, my parents are going to blame me for being stupid, basically, for doing something dumb that wasn't going to work out anyways. But who's going to know? Your parents aren't going to, parents aren't going to know if it's going to work out or not. We're not going to know if it's going to work out or not. We're only going to know if we actually do it, right? So don't be so harsh on them when something doesn't work out the way it was planned, because it's out of everyone's control at the end of the day, and it's no one's fault for something that's not working out, unless it was actually something dumb. But if it's something that your child really wants and it's something that they want to try, don't stop them, because if you stop them, they would either distance themselves more from you, or they would regret it in the future and blame you for it. So yeah, I know so many people who blame their parents because they weren't able to do something that they want to do. I mean, I'm really like I have an example of my friend who she went to university, went to private school all her life, and she went to school for something that she wasn't very passionate about. She was in the beginning, but as she grew up over the years, her passion just died, and she found passion in something else, which is to use her hands to do hair. But her parents weren't supportive of it, and it put so much toll on her. It beat her down so much, to the point where she just didn't know what to do with her life. She thought, maybe should I just give up my dreams just so my parents can be happy? But I told her, if you give up your dreams, you're not going to be happy. And if you're not happy, your parents are not going to be happy. But I don't think parents realize that when they're being so hard on their child, when they want to pursue something that they're very passionate about. Yeah.
Just as a final question to end off this interview, just really quick, where are the popular kids in your school right now? How are they doing?
Good question. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I stopped caring about it a long time ago. I think you get so caught up in that moment when you're in high school, you think they're everything. And now that we're all living our own busy lives, it's like, who are they? I forgot. Honestly, I forgot. I remember encountering one of them on the train to work, and I honestly forgot their name. I really forgot.
Okay.
But like, sometimes I can see what they're doing on social media or whatever. They're still doing the same. Some of them are very successful. Some of them, because I know some of them studied really hard, and some of them are just partying and like camping and like living life. I mean, everyone's just living different dreams or whatever. But it's not like I look at them and be like, oh, they're so cool. I just look at them as like, cool, they're doing their own things now. So yeah, I honestly don't know what they're doing with their lives. Really don't know.
Okay, I think that's a good way to end it off.
All right.
All right, G.
All right.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much for getting to the end of this episode. I'm glad that you made it to the end. But then again, if there is a teenager that you know is going through their fears or loneliness, send them these specific episodes, as for me, even in this point in time, I really connected with the stories that I was talking to my friends and other people that I was talking with. I really did connect with their stories. And for the parents who have teenagers that may be feeling these specific feelings, send this podcast episode to them as well. At this point in time, I'm really just trying to get this podcast to as many people as possible. So I hope I'll see you next week.